Greetings, family. I greet you in the name of God and the ancestors, and whose footsteps I most humbly walk. His brother Ed Mojo for the Bitoy International Film Festival 2020. We're really excited tonight to have Sifu Robert Samuels with us. And if you don't know who this brother is, but if you like martial arts, love martial art movies, you've seen his work somewhere. He's been in front of the camera, behind the camera. He's doing all kinds of stuff. And we've been blessed to have him invite Piff onto his set a couple of times here in Philadelphia. He's doing a lot of wonderful things in the film community. And you know what? This brother, the first man of color of African descent to hold an HSKA card, Hong Kong Stunt Association card. We're going to have him talk a little bit about that and why that's so unique, so special. He has a few movies out, Made in Chinatown. It's still racking up awards. Final Contact, which we have on Piff 2020, starts tomorrow at 2 o'clock. This brother's doing a lot of stuff. I'm not going to get into all the stuff he's doing because we have a limited amount of time with him because he's very busy. So I'd like to welcome to the show Sifu Robert Samuels. What's up, Sifu?
Hey, how are you? Thank you so much. I'm honored.
Yeah,
the honor is mine. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, man. I'm going to jump right into it because I know your time is very short. Let's talk about, let's go backwards. Yes. I don't want to, let's go from the present to the back. Now, right. I know you for Made in Chinatown and Final Contact. Let's talk a little bit about those two movies. Let's talk about Final Contact first. What was the premise and what made you want to make that film?
My business partner, Robert Jefferson, we've been doing films now for about 30 years. He came up with an idea for a web series revolving around a case, a simple case. No one knows what's in the case, but everyone is trying to vie for the case. So every episode, we kind of give the audience a little bit more insight as to what's actually in the case. The case is passed around from agent to agent. Each agent doesn't know the previous agent, so it just adds for a lot of hijinks and an excuse for some great action.
Okay. Yeah, it's not. Now I know there's 3 parts. Is there gonna be more parts to this?
Yes, absolutely. As you see right now with the coronavirus situation, everything is kind of at a standstill. So as things open up and we start to understand the new dynamic on how we have to film now, we'll be lensing another episode shortly. I was very fortunate today to get a call from my executive producer. He stated that Final Contact actually won Best Action Choreography.
Congratulations.
At the Freedom Film Festival. So yeah, we're excited about that.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So
thank you.
So how has it been received by the general public? Because it's very unique what you're doing. So how has it been received?
So far, it's been received very well. People want to see more.
That's why I asked you that question.
The way the situation is, it kind of put things at a standstill because actually it was supposed to be 10-part series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but things happened right before, we managed to cap off episode 4. But we have episode 3 out right now. We put a little bit more into 3. So you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of looked at 3 a little bit when you sent it to me. I haven't looked at the whole thing yet. I was like, okay, I gotta look at this thing.
Yeah, you were there when we were filming that.
Yes. Yeah. You know what? And that's what I like. This is something about Piff. It's about the education of filmmaking. When you're on set and what you see, and then the final product, you try to say, okay, because when you go to the cutting room floor, there's a lot of stuff that's shot that's not used, as you know. Right. And so to see the final cut of that, and I'm going to talk about Made in Chinatown because I was there when you guys were shooting some of that stuff.
Yes.
Also.
Yes.
And to see the final product, I think is an education for a lot of people. What goes into making a film? Because there was times when you were making that film, both of them, where there's maybe 2 or 3 people in front of the camera, but it's a whole bunch of people behind the camera.
Yeah, it was huge, especially Made in Chinatown. That was the biggest budget film that I directed. So I'm excited about that. That's due to be released very shortly now. We actually have a worldwide screening for it, watch party on Friday with Tony Darrow from The Sopranos and Goodfellas and the Woody Allen movies, and the iconic veteran actor Vinny Pastore from Sopranos and countless other Hollywood films. So
talking about Made in Chinatown. Now, like you said, that was a big one of your biggest budget movie you have done. And I was
Yes.
on set a couple of times watching what you guys was doing, and just watching all the technical part, the fighting scene, and then you had Lo Ming in there. You had
Yeah.
a lot of names in front of the camera, and behind the camera was hectic. I'm watching all this stuff, saying, man, people see what goes into making a movie, and this is like, this is not it's not $100 million budget movie. So I'm saying, man,
Right.
imagine what happened on those sets. I'm
Oh yeah,
watching you.
exactly. Like Black Panther or something, My
Oh,
God.
wow. So let's
No,
talk a little bit about that. How, as a
yeah.
director, as a director, shooting a film like that, what goes into your mindset? You have like a day-to-day setup. I know you do the dailies and stuff like that, but what goes into your mind as a director shooting a film like that?
So having worked in Hong Kong with Sammo Hung and Yuen Wu Ping and Mark Houghton and all the rest of the luminaries, it gave me an insight as to the way we shoot in Hong Kong is very fast. It's a fast pace. So this being an American film, I knew that I was able mentally to move faster than the American system works. In Hong Kong, we do 16, 17-hour days. Here in the United States, we don't do that. There's unions and there's rules and things of that nature for turnaround. But the Hong Kong industry is different. That was the best tutelage. So I understood how to cap a shot off quick. I knew my shooting variables on what I can get away with. The only difficult part for me was this time managing a bigger cast, and an eclectic cast of a number of Hollywood A-level actors. We brought in Hong Kong veteran actors as well as American actors. We had Vinny Pastore, as I stated, Tony Darrow, Paul Borghese, the great Raymond Barry. Everyone knows him from Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
It was just a ton of stars in the film, and it was a lot of actors to coordinate. It's not a martial arts film per se.
Right.
Actually, the film was the script was written by Mark Wiley. A lot of people know Mark. Mark's a good guy, and he came to me. He's from Philadelphia as well, and he said, I have this film that I'm trying to do, and can you help me get it off the ground? I read the script at first, and it didn't really grab me because, as you know, for about 30 years now, I've been doing martial arts films, and I've never really delved into the comedic aspect of filming. But I knew that I wanted to challenge myself because I was getting repetitious and doing just action films. Mm-hmm. So I said, I read the script, and I said, wow, this is pretty funny. It's actually pretty funny. So Mark talked to me and James Liu, and we all inked the deal. James came in to do as a second director, as also as an action director, and this was my first big film to direct, and we pulled it off. Everyone seems to enjoy the film. We've had some test audiences around the country, and so far we've been receiving a number of awards. Right now we're up to I think 10. Today we just received the Audience Choice Award, Best Action Film, Best Choreography, and Best Actor for Made in Chinatown for the Freedom Film Festival, along with 2 other awards for the Philadelphia International Film Festival.
Oh, wonderful.
So yeah, the film is, and this is all before the film release, so all good signs.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, now we talked about that. I know I'm trying to go through this really quickly because I know your time's really tight.
Uh-huh.
Those who don't know who you are and probably they've seen your work, let's talk about how did you get to Hong Kong? Why did you go to Hong Kong? I mean, you left the U.S. and you went to Hong Kong to work on films.
Yeah.
For 10 years. And you worked with a lot of actors out there. What was it? Why did you make that transition?
As a kid, I went and saw a movie called Five Fingers of Death.
I remember that.
And that was it had the most profound effect upon me. Not only did I actually fall in love with Kung Fu films, it was the Shaw Brothers and the Golden Harvest films that had an indelible impression upon me. So I said, not only do I want to work in Hong Kong films, but I actually want to work with the gentleman I saw on screen, who actually was the star of Five Fingers of Death. How ironic, the first film I ended up doing in Hong Kong 20, 30 years later was with that particular actor. So it was like a full circle dream come true.
Oh.
Yeah, how about that? Lo Lei, yeah, he was in my Gambling Ghost on Fuk Chai Tia, and that was the first film I did for Sammo. But working in Hong Kong was difficult, you know, because being a black man, trying to get to Hong Kong was difficult. But I knew that there was only one way for me to do it. So I got a job with the airlines because I knew that you could fly for free. So every year I would take my vacation and I would just go back and forth to Hong Kong and come back. Sometimes I'd go for a week, 2 weeks, and I'd try to make those contacts. I did go one particular year and I met a gentleman named Chu Chi Ling. Most of you may remember him as the tailor in Kung Fu Hustle. He in turn started to manage me, and he managed me for about 3 or 4 years in Hong Kong. I got small work, nothing big. Finally, I came back to the U.S. Then I took one more chance. I went to Hong Kong, and that particular time I went, I met a guy, his name was Paul Chang. And Paul said to me, he said it was unusual. Actually, I was in the bathroom when I saw him. He said, I don't understand. He said, why is a black guy over in Hong Kong trying to do movies, right? And then I started speaking Cantonese to him, and he was like, wait a second, and you speak Chinese? I said, yeah. I said, I'm really trying to get in. He's like, okay, tell you what, you meet me at the hotel tonight. I'm bringing some people with me. I'll give you an opportunity. So I go to the hotel. It was the Nico Hotel, and in walks Chen Kun Tai and Sammo Hung and David Chang. And I'm like blown away because I've watched all of them as a kid growing up. And I showed Sammo these photos and of me doing action, and Sammo was like, oh, nice, very nice. But I didn't think he really cared. And he said, can you fight? I said, yeah. He said, can you fight 5 and 6 guys at the same time? I said, well, I'm not you, but I can, you know, handle myself. He said, okay. But he seemed very disinterested. So at that point, he told me, he says, okay. So he left, and we all sat there, and we ended up getting dinner. About an hour later, the phone rang, and he called Paul, and then Paul gets off the phone, and he says, well, congratulations. I'm like, why? He's like, Sammo said he's changing the ending of his movie, and he's going to feature you now as the lead villain for the end. I was like, what? It was amazing. So wow. That was my first film, Gambling Ghost, Hong Fok Chai Tien. A funny story that happened on that film. Is that
still available out there?
It's available. A lot of fans. In fact, one of my best friends, Justin Hughes, a writer from Asia Pulse magazine, sent me a Blu-ray version coming soon. So, but it's out there. Everybody can see it. So, but one thing I did, we finished Gambling Ghost early. And this, I have to tell you this because this was important as to how far my career went. When we finished filming early, the producers owed me about $5,000 US. And they said, well, can you forfeit the money because we finished like a week early and everything? I said, I'll forfeit the money if you allow me to speak to Sammo. So I spoke to Sammo. I said, listen, I talked to the producers. They want me to kind of forfeit this money. We ended early. I said, I'll forfeit the money on one condition. I said, if you allow me to work with you again in the future, I'll give up the $5,000 right now. He said, you're willing to give up $5,000 to work with me again in the future? I said, absolutely, 100%. He said, okay, deal. And that was it. I came back to America. At that point, my job was in jeopardy at U.S. Airways. I called him. It was about 7 or 8 months later after I had left. And I said, look, I'm about to lose my job. He's like, nope, get on the plane, come right out to Hong Kong. So I get on the plane. I go out there. He meets me at the airport with his son. They take me to immigration. They tell the immigration officials that I'll be working for him, that I'll be his personal English instructor. And from that, because, you know, Americans can only stay in the country for 30 days without, you know, work permit and visiting. This way, it was sort of a job niche that was created simply for him. So I was able to live in Hong Kong. Not only that was I able to live in Hong Kong, he allowed me to live in his house with him. So that was the best education that I could have ever gotten, you know. Every morning I get up, I go in there, and I knew he had some classics sitting on because they were VCR tapes, and I would just take some of the tapes and watch the VCR tapes while he was sleeping, and just so many behind the scenes that he had filmed, Eastern Condors, some rare footage from Enter the Dragon when he fought Bruce Lee in the beginning. Just, you know, that was the best education. It was better than any film school I could ever go to. You know, living and working with him was just like a dream come true. Subsequently, Yuen Wu-ping of the Matrix fame is actually the godfather of Sammo's children. So I was actually working for Sammo, and this was about 2 or 3 years later after I initially moved there with him. And then Yuen Wu-ping was doing a big action film called The Red Wolf. And at that point, he asked Samuel, he's like, you think I could use Bobby? And again, in Hong Kong, how it works is, you know, if I follow Samuel, I follow Samuel. If I need to work with another director, out of respect, I have to go to Samuel and say, listen, they would like me. But Samuel was like, not a problem. He's the godfather of my children. So then I get to work with Yen Wu Ping, the second most prolific action director in Hong Kong cinema. So, yeah, I've had a very interesting life.
Cool. That's very interesting. That's a nice story. It's nice to know some of the backstory because as you're talking, I'm assuming as you're there living with him and working with him, your Cantonese is getting better.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. How ironic. The first year I was living with him, I didn't do any movies. I was basically working with him in the office. I would go to meetings with him. I'd handle, you know, personal issues for him, take care of the office and things of that nature. And what I didn't realize was at the time was he was grooming me, basically. So I ended up, I hadn't done anything for about, since Gambling Ghost, I think a year or two it went by. And I'm in Hong Kong, I did nothing. I'm like, wow, when am I going to Samuel? Hello. But all the while he was giving me, even though I wasn't doing anything, I was gaining exposure. We ended up going one night to the Hong Kong Academy Awards, for lack of a better term. That's the Golden Horse Awards. And as soon as I walked in, there were several people that came up to me and was like, Bobby Samuels. And I'm like, oh, how do you know me? And they're like, oh, everyone knows you. I'm like, what do you mean everyone knows me? They were like, oh, the media projects that they think that you're a bodyguard that was hired to protect Samuel from the mafia. So at that point, I'm like scratching my head. And then I'm thinking, I'm like, wait a second. That actually sounds pretty dope. Yeah, I like that. So I didn't dissuade him or anything, but that wasn't the case. But it was interesting how just being around him, people had taken notice of me, you know. Mm-hmm. Subsequently, about 3 months after that, then we started beginning production on Don't Give a Damn. That's where he actually had me the star of the film, one of the stars of the film.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm listening to you talking, and I hope people who are interested in action films are listening to the process that you went through to get to where you are right now. Because as we look at the process, and we could take this process and move it around to where now I'm looking at, you know, you're doing the thing, the Red Sash Theater channel. Yeah. I mean, so yes. Now, how did all this experience? How did that work into the channel? What's going on with the channel?
So. I have a very good friend, Demetrius Angelo with HBO, Time Warner. He holds the Urban Action Showcase every year. Mm-hmm. Him and I have been talking about, you know, rebooting Kung Fu theater from back in the day. Every Saturday, he used to come on in every metropolitan city, you know.
I remember that.
I know when I was a kid, I'd rush home to see, you know, the latest Kung Fu films and things of that nature. So I felt like, you know, this was a great time, considering the fact that things are virtual now, to kind of put another spin on Kung Fu theater, not try to replicate it, but just to do something different. So what I do now with that is we feature filmmakers, action filmmakers, not the A-level, but independent action films who really don't get a lot of attention. There are a number of prolific directors that I've come across who actually have very good work. And they just haven't had the opportunity to have that work be seen on a platform and with people supporting it. So that was one of the reasons why I created Red Sash Theater, myself and Robert Jefferson and Grandmaster Oso Tiari Cassell. Okay. He's the executive producer of the series. Okay. He's also the executive producer, him and Mark Wiley, of Final Contact. It's a family-oriented business, how we operate, you know. It's about networking. It's not just about me having my own content, Red Sash Theater, Bobby Samuels project, this project, that. Every week I like to promote other directors and filmmakers to give them an opportunity to have a platform where they can be seen. Some of the filmmakers, they already have their own channels, their own streams of revenue and getting their material out there. But I wanted to make sure that we had one little nexus where it's a commonality, where everybody joins together. We have Rising Tiger Films, we have Art School Dropouts, we have Deviant Children Productions, we have R4 Films, we've got Tambuli Media, we all the film groups. And what they do is they submit content and we promote that content on the channel. So it's Black Belt Theater 2.0.
Okay, got it. So how do people find it?
Right now, all you do is go to Binge TV, www.redsashtheater.com, and it'll pop right up, and just enjoy what we have. Every month, what we'll do is we'll release one pay-per-view, and again, this is simply to keep our business moving, meaning we'll create one original title, longer than a short film, somewhat, maybe 30, 40 minutes, and we'll charge a certain price for that. All the rest of the content comes free. So basically asking you to support us once a month with original content, and then you have access to everything else for free.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, like I said, I know our time will be short, so I want to jump a little, take a couple of steps back to your days in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So why is the Hong Kong Stunt Association card so important?
Ooh, the Hong Kong Stunt Association is by far, let's just say, the original. That's where all, if you notice, a lot of Hollywood films now in the past 10, 20 years have incorporated wire work and Hong Kong style action, and that's because they are the pioneers of it. Hong Kong Stuntmen's Association is the premier stunt group in Asia, and not many Americans get an opportunity to join that. I do. One of my brothers, Tom Caserto, he is, and our big brother, Mark Houghton, he's a member. Near a number of Westerners, but no black members.
Still?
To this day, no black members.
So yeah, you're still the only one, huh?
Yeah, and I got it by doing a stunt. It was actually somewhat of a joke. It was a scene in Don't Give a Damn where it was that I had to run down the street, jump over an embankment, hit a hill, run into the middle of a highway, and leap into the back of a car. So when Samuel designed it, they started looking for Asian stunt guys that actually looked like me because they didn't feel like I could do it. Most Westerners don't do their own stunts like that. But I told Sam, I said, I can do it. He's like, no, I don't think so. I said, no, I can. Lau Ka Leung's brother was there, Cho Wing, Yun Biao. So they all started betting. They was like, yeah. They started saying, okay, if you can do it, then we'll sign for you to be a Hong Kong stuntman, because you have to have 3 signatures from, top action directors in Hong Kong just to get into the Hong Kong Stuntmen's Association at that time. So Samuel called action. I mapped the scene out, and then I did the dash. I ran, bang, hit the embankment, leapt over the fence, ran down the hill, leaped into the back of the moving vehicle while it was on the highway, all in one take. I got back, I came over, I said, how was it? You could hear crickets. They didn't say a thing. And I was cracking up. So then I went in there with 4 signatures to become a Hong Kong stuntman. So yeah, cool. It's a funny story. So I'm waiting, but I want to say this. I have to put this out there. It's one individual. Without that individual, actually 2. First one is Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef. Without Grandmaster Ron Van Cleef, who was the first African-American to ever do films in Hong Kong, without him, there would be no opportunity for me. So I always, no matter what, he is my godfather. So I always give thanks and praise where it's due. And I thank him from the bottom of my heart, because if it was not for Ron Van Cleef, I would not have had the opportunity to go to Hong Kong and do what I did. The second individual is Grandmaster Carl Scott. Most of you may know him from Sun Dragon and Billy Chung's films. He as well, I had the opportunity to meet him several years ago, and since then, him and I speak every other day. He's like my uncle. He guides me. He's agreed to allow me to direct him in a project after this pandemic is over.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to that. And but without those 2 individuals who were pioneers in Hong Kong cinema, I would not have had the opportunity. So, and of course, Jim Kelly, having been, I'm very honored as well to have been the recipient of the Jim Kelly Lifetime Achievement Award from his family. And I'm just so honored to be mentioned with these pioneering Black martial artists in Asian cinema.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned some very powerful names right there. I mean, all of them I remember from the movies. Growing up watching Ron Van Cleef, the Black Dragon. Yep. Yeah, I remember him. And Sensei and Master Scott, I saw him in a couple of movies, and like his stuff was just like unreal. The way
Yeah,
he moved on the
yeah,
screen, yeah, he was just unreal. I mean, Jim Kelly in Enter the Dragon, Black Belt Jones, he brought it home to our level. You know, it was in the hood kind of, you know, in Black
that's
Belt
right.
Jones.
That's
Yeah.
right. Exactly.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that. So let me ask you, how do people support you? How do they get to know who you are? Even before I ask you that question, because last time I was talking to Khalil and we talked about, do they use the pitch deck in Hong Kong and making movies, or or they do something like a pitch deck over there?
Uh, it depends on the production. It
Okay,
depends on the production.
okay.
Sometimes,
Sometimes, okay, cool.
yes.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I said because because they do movies so differently, and it's a different flavor over there. From
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
understand, I was like, I
Well,
wonder if they do that. Okay.
Hong Kong is going through some difficult times right now. You know, having lived there, you know, I'm with the people of Hong Kong. Um, you know, I left in '97 when, you know, Britain gave the country back to China. We were promised 50 years of autonomy, and as you can see, things aren't being
Yeah.
dealt the right way. So
Yeah.
the film business right now in Hong Kong is pretty much dried up. Everything is
Wow.
being done in mainland China.
Mhm.
And Hong Kong primarily just does TV now. You have your little small independent projects here and there, but nothing on the grand scale of the golden age of Hong Kong cinema.
Like even like the Shaw Brothers and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
those are a thing of the past. There is one documentary that everyone should see, and that's on Netflix. It's called Iron Fist and Kung Fu Kicks. Not because I'm in it, but because it chronicles uh, Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest and just Hong Kong cinema in general. You know,
Mhm.
there are a lot of martial arts aficionados and historians that are involved with that. Michael Jai White, my brother's in there. Amy Johnson, Cynthia Rothrock, Richard Norton, Rick Myers, Vincent Lin, our own Warrington Hudlin. So it's on Netflix. It's Iron Fist and Kung Fu Kicks. It's definitely a treat to behold.
Okay. Now let me ask you before I know you're getting ready. You have to jump. How do people get in touch with you? How do they keep up in touch with all the things you're working on? How do we make that happen?
Well, I'm on Instagram, Facebook. We have our YouTube channel. We have the Red Sash Theater channel. We have R4 Films. So all you do is Red Sash Theater. You can also email me, rjsamuels54@gmail.com. That's rjsamuels54@gmail.com. Or you can reach out to me on Instagram at r_Samuels. I'm here. I'm here. Reach out to me on Facebook, whatever. I'm very accessible.
Okay. Yes, you are. I could say it because I reach out to you and you boom, you hit back right away. So I do appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Listen, I wouldn't be where I'm at if someone never gave me an opportunity.
Mhm.
So to my detriment sometimes, but I'm always willing to help a young person achieve their dreams, because that's really what it's about. It's about passing the torch.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I agree with you 1,000%. On behalf of Piff, and I do thank you because you gave us an opportunity to come on your set. Made in Chinatown and Final Contact. Got an opportunity when I was on set with you on Made in China. I purposely took images, videos of the behind the camera because I wanted
Yes,
people to see the amount of people that's on a set. I mean, because a lot of people don't
that's a
sit
big
there and
one.
watch the credit. Yeah, a lot of people don't sit there and watch the credits. But I mean, so the video of all these people behind the scenes, I said that was really important for me, so that way we could show people how many people actually is in there when you have a few people in front of the camera. So I do thank you for that opportunity. Thank you so
And I
much.
think, I think Mark Wiley, of course, and the cast and crew of Final Contact series, as well as Made in Chinatown. Filmmaking process is not a solo venture. I was the director. However, that process needs people and support, from the craft services person to the grip to sound to whoever. They all contributed to wherever I'm at with this process with Made in Chinatown and Final Contact. And for that, I'm forever in their debt. Team One Take, Hector Sorio, my group. I love you guys.
One question before you go. Let me ask you a really quick question.
Yes.
What's the name of the person who sits there and makes sure everything is correct on the set? Because I mean, when I was on Made in China, I said that's a cool job. You have to make sure everything is correct. Nothing's not out of place. Like you don't want a cell phone there if you're doing a 1950 scene.
Right. We were very fortunate in that respect. We had some top level production assistants. They set design and they don't play. They don't play.
Yeah, I was watching them, they said, oh yeah, I was like, because I was just watching what everyone was doing. I was like, that's a cool job to have, to be on set and make sure what's supposed to be there is there and what's not supposed to be not there. Because when you shoot it there, because it doesn't look right, you messes your whole film up because it looks phony. So I want to ask you about some people. I want people who are listening to understand that is a serious job on set.
Yeah, and the ones we had, they've actually won Academy Awards for their set design. Absolutely. Okay. So we were very fortunate to have the eclectic group of individuals that we had working on Made in China. Was it difficult? Oh my God, it was extremely difficult. But every day I go to set and I look at 60, 70 crew members, 30, 40 cast, and they were depending on me to put that vision together. Yeah. Having a script is one thing. Bringing that script to fruition, to the screen, is something completely different. Yeah. Although I am the leader in that respect, it's a collaborative process because without that, it couldn't be done. Our camera department, Derek Berry, our producers, Shin Ka, Mark Wiley, Robert Jefferson.
Your cameraman was phenomenal. I met him a couple other times.
Derek, yeah. He actually lends the big budget film as well as the series as well too. Final Contact.
Yeah, I saw him on Final Contact. I saw him in Made in China. So we got a chance to talk a couple of times. Yeah, definitely. Okay, man. Sifu, thank you so much for your time. I know you got to jump. I do appreciate you giving us some of your time tonight.
Hey, listen, I hope once this is all over, hopefully this will be over by next year. Let's try and do something live down in St. Lucia. I'm willing to come down there and film. I'm looking forward to meeting the people.
I told them you said that already.
I definitely am. I'd love to film there. So
yeah, that's something.
My executive producer, Oso Tiari Castello, we're actually looking for a location to pull off a pet project that we've been working on, and I actually think St. Lucia might work. So definitely looking forward to that. You head on down, talk to the people, and see what you can do.
Okay, well, listen, I'm going to support you 1,000% on that. So let's talk. Let's talk when things calm down.
Greg Mosley, thank you for everything you do for me. He's always supporting me. He's always pushing my work, and I love you guys. You Warrington, Bryant LaRota, he's my spiritual mentor. Bryant's produced a lot of Hollywood hits, and when I'm at my darkest hour, when I need some guidance and some understanding on certain things, I call Bryant LaRota, and he feeds me the knowledge. So thank you all.
Well, Sifu, thank you for your time, and God bless. And I'll keep. I have your number. You have my number. So let's see what we could do to make it happen.
It's whatever you need. Whatever you need, I got you. You know that I support you 100%.
I appreciate that. And that goes right back at you, sir.
Grandmaster, thank you for joining me.
Yes. Okay, sir. Okay, have a nice evening, and we'll talk on the other side.
Thank you all. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay, good night, family.
Yep.
Good night, family. Bye.